SWOT analysis, what is it? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It is actually one of the most commonly used tools in the business world. However, it is the easiest to mess up. I'm going to show you here how we do the SWOT analysis. But before we start, I want to tell you about some of the common mistakes that we make when we try to develop the SWOT analysis. Number one, and this is the biggest one, we try to do the SWOT analysis for the whole company, which is wrong. You're not trying to develop the analysis for all of what the company does. You could be a very large organization or even a small one, but the SWOT analysis is for a specific objective. So for example, you want to start selling online courses and you want to see if you're capable of doing that. So you do a SWOT analysis for that. Or you want to enter a new market. You do your strength analysis and weaknesses and so on for entering that specific market. So the SWOT analysis needs to be for a specific focused objective. It is not for the whole company. The other mistake that people make is that they are too vague or too high level, and they don't involve a lot of people in the analysis. So you don't really want to do this yourself. Bring in multiple perspectives and try to actually name specific strengths and opportunities and so on. Now, speaking of strengths and opportunities, the other side is the weakness and the threat. And many organizations and team members are reluctant to actually name weaknesses. And so if you want to do a proper SWOT analysis, you can't be afraid of stating what your weaknesses are. What's the point of an analysis where you're afraid of stating the facts, right? So you need to state the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. So let's move on with the analysis. This is usually done like this. You develop you put, obviously you need a lot more space than this, but this is just to demonstrate, right? And what you do is you create these 4 quadrants, and let's call this the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can put them in any box you want, but this is okay. And what we want to know about these is that these here, the strengths and the weaknesses, these are your current state. This is how your organization is. And a lot of times these have to do with your resources, with your cash position, or maybe your market positioning, right? If you have very strong brands, then these are strengths for you. So strengths and weaknesses are internal to you, and they represent you in the current state. Whereas the opportunities and the threats that you see below, these represent things that could happen. So opportunities, good things that can happen, threats, bad things that could happen. And when we think about opportunities and threats, again, as a reminder, you're not analyzing opportunities and threats for the whole organization. You're talking about a specific objective. Let's just stick with selling online courses, and you're not an organization that does that. Maybe currently all you do is classroom training, and now you want to enter the online market, right? Selling, ready-made courses. So opportunities will be for online courses. Threats will be when you enter the online courses, what are the things that could go wrong? So you start with these. These are internal strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, most of the time, your cash position, your resources, these tend to be your common strengths. So if you have well-equipped or highly skilled resources, or you have a good number of resources, or your resources are well connected in the market, maybe your sales team, maybe your management structure. We know everybody in town. We know the whole area. We've been around for a long time. So your brand recognition. These are some of the things that we look at for strengths. Our experience counts here. I don't have any more space. So experience in the product or in the market, those are considered strengths. Obviously, the opposite of that is considered a weakness. So you could also look at things that you don't do well, the opposite exactly. You don't have all the right resources. We don't have the skill set. We are new in the market. These are considered weaknesses, or our management processes are not well developed, things like that. So you need to be really honest. Honesty here is important, right? Is important for you to be honest with yourself, because if you don't look at the negative side of things, then you're not going to be prepared. So now, once you do the strengths and weaknesses, try to identify, quite a few, maybe 5, 7, 10, as many as you can. When you run out of ideas, then you need to think about the opportunities and threats. Be very specific to your objective. What is it that helps you for that specific objective? So let's just keep the objective in mind here, which is, I want to sell ready-made online courses. So with that objective in mind, where are the opportunities? Well, maybe we have We already have the trainers who do the classroom training. We can use them for the online courses, right? So we can use existing trainers. That's an opportunity. And then you can also look at maybe partnership opportunities. You could partner with a specific brand. You could partner with a specific maybe course provider that they make ready-made courses, and then you can just buy and sell these. But you need to look at the opportunities specific to the objective that you're aiming at, and then ask yourself, where could things go wrong? And you can think about competition here. Competition in spelling, I guess. So you can look for the competition. Could they affect you? And you can also look at the market trends. Sometimes competition that has been in the market for a while, the moment you enter the market, they try to target you. This is if it's a small, well-defined market. Otherwise, in a bigger market, that's not the case. But these are well-established, competitors. It's really hard to compete with them. So you got to have something that is your value proposition, something that is different. Market trends, are they, steady, or are they going down? So the trend will be if the market is actually going down, if this is going out of style. Maybe, if you think about cassette tapes and, vinyl and so on, although vinyl seems to be picking up. But if you look at things that are going out of style, and this is when you're jumping into the market, that's a bad idea, right? So you want to look at the market trends. You want to see if this is a market that is going down, because you're looking for threats, all right? You're looking for the threats. You could also look at currency and exchange rates and so on. Those could work against you. You could also look at legal matters where resources could be cut off. Maybe currently there's regulation in play, they're working on it, that could prevent certain resources from getting to specific areas. So legal or political matters could actually affect you and your ability to do this. The other threat would be, your own internal problems. Sometimes what you have internally for resources or for management, if you're worried about maybe upcoming mergers, acquisitions, or maybe you have high turnover rate, a lot of these things could present or pose a threat for whatever it is that you do. The team that you rely on for you to do this online, you have to consider for the online courses, you have to consider what if they teamed up and they turned against the organization. What if they branched off and started their own work and left the company? But you have to think what could really go wrong specific to that one objective. Once you've done your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, it is now time to analyze it. So all you've been doing is identify it, and now you need to analyze. And the first thing that you want to analyze is the strengths versus the opportunities, right? Let me get a different color going. So you want to look for strengths versus opportunities. You want to ask yourself, how can I use my strengths that I have now in my current state to be able to capture opportunities in the future? And for that, you can develop some goals and objectives or actionable things that you can do. The other thing you want to do is look at your strengths versus your weaknesses. Your strengths versus your threats. You have a threat maybe coming up from currency or maybe legal, but you have, let's say for currency, you have extra cash, right? How can you use that to hedge the issue that could come from the currency? So you want to look at how you can use your strengths to overcome threats. With regards to weaknesses, those are the areas that you really want to try to avoid, because those are areas you actually are weak in. So if you're weak in a certain area, there is no point in trying to use that, right? There is no advantage there. So if you have a weakness, let's say you're low on cash, which is the opposite of this, right? You're low on cash. So you can't really use that, but you can try to see whether you have certain strengths that could defeat some of these weaknesses. In general, your weaknesses are going to stand in your way, and your biggest problem is going to come from weaknesses that pose a threat for you. So this area on the right, this is the area you want to avoid. Threats where you are weak against. If you find that you have a weakness in an area that presents a threat, you should look at moving away from that area of the market or from that service or function. So for example, there's a big threat. Let's say that one of your credential authorities, in our case, let's just say PMI, which issues the PMP and such. Let's say there's a threat. You've heard that they're going to leave your country or region, they're not going to be servicing that, and it's not going to be possible to actually market any courses related to them at that point. And you have no ability to sway that in any way or change it. That's a weakness in an area that in an area of threat. In that case, do not get involved in any courses related to that credential authority, right? You are weak against this threat, avoid it by all means, and look at ways to capture opportunities using your strengths. The math is very straightforward. If you have a weakness, and a lot of people don't think about this, but if I have a weakness in a certain area and I'm trying to tackle a threat, I could use a lot of cash, I could use a lot of resources, and I could put a lot of effort, but I may not be able to defeat the threat. Why? Because I am weak. Instead of putting all that effort there, which is negative in the end, it's negative. Why don't I look at the strengths that would help me capture the opportunities, right? Look for the strengths that capture opportunities, get many more pluses on this side. So if you have a minus, whatever scoring system you're going to use, let's say you have a -5 going there, or let's say there's something of an impact of 5 units. It could be $5,000, $5 million. It could be an impact of 5 as a score. The point is, if you have a certain value of negativity from that threat where you are weak, focusing on it is just going to drain all of your resources and energies. Instead, what you should be looking at is overcoming that and counteracting that by tapping into your strengths that can help you capture opportunities. So if you have a -5 value, just use it hypothetically, and you have a +10 value here, then leaving this to hit you is fine as long as you are achieving the +10 on this side, because overall, you have a gain because this is higher. So when we do the SWOT analysis, we're not trying to fix everything under the sun. We're not trying to analyze the whole organization. And there's nothing that says we can overcome all of the threats, overcome the weaknesses. Instead, our focus needs to be on our strengths that could help us capture the opportunities. Don't fight this, aim for this, right? Wherever you have strengths, this is your starting point. You can choose that to overcome weaknesses. You don't have resources, but you have cash. You can buy the resources. Your strengths can help you fend off the threats, but don't try to fight this war here between weakness and threat. Use your strength to go like this. In your analysis, develop an action plan, assign it to people, put a timeline on it, because there's no point in analyzing where you don't really act on the results. This is where I'll stop. Hopefully the SWOT analysis that we did here was beneficial to you. If you like it, please hit the like button. And if you feel anyone can benefit from it, please share with them. If you're not a subscriber and you want to see more of these videos, please click the subscribe button. My name is Edward Shihab. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon on another video. Take care. Bye-bye.